Hey, this is Elektron, and today I'm going to show you how to correctly layer leads. And so what I have here is a project up that I've been working on, and I'm going to play it through, and I'm going to show you how to achieve a nice layering of leads without creating a big old mess and without overdoing anything. Okay, so first thing I want to say about layering leads is figure out your dominant sound. What is the lead going to sound like? And if you don't know this, then this will lead to aimless layering, especially if you're a preset person and you like cycling through hundreds of presets until you find the perfect one to layer with, and you will end up layering, 5 different presets on top of each other, get a completely different sound that you were going for, and have no idea how to mix it. And that's not really what you should be going for. You should really have an idea of what you want to go for. So my dominant layer is going to sound like this. Keep it simple, very simple. So that's my dominant layer, and next thing you should do is have an idea of what your layers after that are going to sound like and what this dominant layer needs. So when I listen to this dominant layer, I'm going to need a layer for white noise. I'm going to need a nice punchy transient on top of it. I'm going to need something an octave lower. I'm going to need something an octave higher, and maybe something that sounds a little bit different. But either way, I'm going to stick to the idea of that sound so I can eliminate the need to obliterate that sound with pointless presets by throwing pointless sounds on top of this. Keep it simple. So these layers together will sound like this. Sounds like that. I have one layer an octave up. I have a layer an octave down. I have a layer that sounds different. So one layer of all these layers sounds different. And then, of course, I have that punchy transient on the attack of the sound. Like that. Okay. So when you get your layers accumulated, you're going to accumulate, a bigger number of layers than... Now, when you accumulate a bunch of layers of leads, first thing you're going to want to do is group them up. I don't care what DAW you're in, group up your layers. Have one fader that controls all of these layers. Now in Logic, what we can do is we can select all of our tracks, right click, and create a track stack, and that is the best way to group up layers in Logic. Now if you're in FL Studio, I don't know how to do it. If you're in Ableton, I don't know how to do it, but you need to figure out how to do it because there is a way to do it in every single DAW. I do know that. So group up your layers so you don't have 5 different layers that you need to keep track of every time you need to turn the lead up or down. So anytime I need to change the volume of this lead, I can do it with one layer, and they all go down according to whatever I do on this fader here or in this fader here. Okay, next thing you're going to have to do, especially if you are a preset guy. So I make my own sounds, so I don't have to worry about this. If you make your own sounds, you wouldn't have to worry about this. You would just skip the step of adding reverb to all of these layers and delays and so on and so forth. But if you're going through presets, 100% of the time, those presets are going to come preloaded with nice delays and nice reverbs. So hypothetically, let's just say this is a preset here, and it's going to come preloaded in the effects rack with a bunch of reverbs and delays, and it'll look something like this. What you need to do is turn those off. Get rid of them. Go through all of your layers and turn off every single reverb and every single delay, because you're going to add one reverb and one delay here. Layering reverbs and delays does not do anything for you. It might sound cool when you layer them at first, but when it comes to mixing, all it's going to do is create the biggest mess in the world that you don't know how to clean up. Nobody knows how to clean a mess like that up. When you accumulate 5 different reverbs and delays on top of each other, all that's doing is going to make your leads fight each other in an unnecessary way. So you need to go through each one of these layers and make them as dry as they can be. Bone dry. That means turn off every compressor, turn off every reverb, turn off every single delay. And what you're going to end up with is a sound that sounds like this. Real quick. Even OTTs. Now I know a lot of people like using OTTs and super compressors like sausage fattener, camel crushers. Turn them all off, because you're going to do them one time on the track stack, or whatever mechanism you're using to group. You're going to add those plugins one time. You do not want 5 OTTs on top of each other for the same lead. That's just going to over compress them. It's going to over OTT them, and it's going to sound horrible, and it's going to, you just don't want to do that. And same goes with the reverbs and the delays. So you're going to want something as dry as hell to go off of. So I'm going to play this. Your lead should sound like that. Before you even affect it, should sound bone dry. Now, I know I have one lead here with chorus and saturation on it, but that is on purpose, because this lead is just a warm little layer that I have going on, and I needed that there, but that's it. I don't have 5 saturations on top of each other, and I don't have 5 layers of chorus. I have 1 layer with chorus on it. So get your leads bone dry, and then what you're going to want to do is first add your compressor. 1 compressor, that's it. Just add 1 compressor. If you have 5 leads that are all compressed, that's going to sound over compressed. There's no other way about it, because you have 5 compressions going on. This is for 1 single lead sound. Because overall, although you have 5 layers, it's 1 single lead sound. So compress them together. Compress them 1 time. So this is the compression I have going on this layering here. Not much going on in terms of gain reduction. Then I'm going to go ahead and add my OTT after that compressor, because I do not want my OTT after the reverb. It sounds weird, and you don't have to do that. Of course, you can experiment, throw the OTT after the reverb and see what happens. It sounds pretty cool sometimes, but to me it's a little hard for me to mix, and it really doesn't make a difference if I put it before the reverb and make my mixing easier anyway. So when I add that OTT, it brings out important frequencies. I notice OTT, it doesn't just multiband compress, but it multiband compresses in the most important frequencies, which to me is kind of like, it's just kind of genius the way OTT works. Pretty amazing. So next thing you want to do is add your delay and your reverb. I like adding delay first and then the reverb second, so then your delays could have reverb on them. I think it sounds cool, but that's just my mechanism. That's my way of doing it. So first thing we add is the delay, and I'll say it again, if you hear all that stuff going on with your delays, if you have 7 of those delays on top of each other with, hypothetically we have delay on each one of these layers, that's going to be all those delays fighting with each other. And you don't need that. You really do not need that. It just creates a mess. And then we're going to add reverb 1 time. Doesn't matter how cool of a sound you get when you layer 5 reverbs on top of each other. It's not going to do you anything. It's not going to give you anything. It might sound cool at once, but it's not going to do anything in the mixing stage, and nobody's going to play your song and say, wow, this sounds like 5 reverbs on top of each other. This is an awesome sound. So add 1 reverb and it'll sound perfectly fine. Then I add my saturation, a little bit of saturation, just to bring out the leads that much more. Saturation isn't so much a sound we could always hear that well. You really have to be, into testing your ears and practicing using saturation to see what it sounds like. So I really can't say like, yeah, this is what it sounds like. So next thing I do is EQ, and I want to mention something about EQ. If I had 5 EQs on top of each other, that's not doing anything. So first thing I do when I have a lead is I low cut them. If I low cutted all 5 of these leads, and I even low cutted the master, that's a little too much low cut. I'm going to lose valuable artifacts, and that's just over EQing for no apparent reason. So when I EQ, I add it on the master chain, add my low cut, and dip the mids slightly. And that's all you need. You don't need to EQ 5 kajillion times, and you don't need to over EQ. Over EQing leads to a horrible sound, a horrible sound. You'll lose very valuable artifacts, and when you're EQing, it should always be slight. You don't need to overdo EQing at all. And then of course I have 1 EQ for filtering. So this just moves in and out throughout the entire mix at the times that I need to filter. Alright, so there you go, guys. That is how to layer leads the correct way. If you took any value from this video, please give me a thumbs up. I would really appreciate that, and subscribe to my channel. Until next time, my name's Alex Jerome. Stay tuned for some more awesome stuff.